When someone says we're not under the law of Moses, we're under the law of God. The law of Moses is not the law of God. Okay, this is a really common misunderstanding. Miles from Answering Adventism makes this charge, as do people who are confused about it. And it doesn't even matter if some Adventists say it like, oh, the Moses gave a law that wasn't from God, and Moses made it up. So Moses' law isn't the law of God, like as if it never was the law of God. That's not the point. It's not the point. Even if someone articulates it misunderstanding, like an Adventist, and they're like, oh, the law of Moses is what Moses gave, and so God never actually gave it. No one's saying that who knows what they're talking about. We're saying that the law of Moses as the covenant at Sinai is not still applicable in the exact same way. You can say that and still say the law of Moses is the law of God, or was the law of God for a period of time. But since the new covenant was ratification of that covenant, the new covenant, the laws as given by Moses in the way it was necessary to do the things that God said through Moses is now referred to as the law as it is under Moses through Sinai, and then the new covenant. So it is all the law of God, but we're no longer under the law of God which was directed through Moses at Sinai. In other words, and it's still true that all the things that God was doing through those laws and teaching them is still applicable. But just like we don't have to do sacrifices because Jesus is our sacrifice. But in the law of Moses, you had to do the sacrifice. Now in this new covenant, this modification where you still need the provisions of God, the things that God says are holy are still holy, etc., are realized in Messiah, which is what they were pointing to in the first place. So yes, there is a distinction between the law of Moses and the law of God. Not that the law of Moses was not the law of God or was not the things God said that they had to do. It's like saying, well, if it's the law of God, it can never change. Well, in the way it didn't change is the way God made atonement for iniquity is now fulfilled in Jesus. So we don't have to do the law of Moses and the shadows of things pointing to what Jesus fulfills. But you still need that provision that God's providing, that he did provide through the law of Moses temporarily until the time of Reformation. And so yes, there is a distinction between the law of Moses because the law of Moses said you had to do the Day of Atonement sacrifice to have your sins taken away, looking forward to Jesus taking the sins away, fully realized. In that sense, the law of Moses is done away with. The law given by God through Moses has fulfilled its purpose in bringing forth the Messiah, and now we're under the law of Christ, which is the law of God, which is the law of Moses realized. So in that sense, we're not under the law of Moses, we're under the law of Christ. But it's the same God, and it was always the law of God, as given by God. But, as the book of Hebrews teaches us, the law, as given by Moses, has given birth to the laws of God through Christ. 1 Corinthians 8.